night of my rape, I made a few mistakes. I found myself up late in a house that I wasn't familiar with, violently sick to my stomach, and struggling to stay alert. I ended up in the bathroom, arms and head splayed over the toilet, feeling embarrassed. I couldn't really say much at that point. I couldn't really keep my eyes open. In the aftermath, it was easy to blame myself. I thought back to those blurry, incoherent moments where I lifted my head and felt for a moment vulnerable and afraid. I mean, I've been taught all my life to keep my guard up, to be wary around almost anyone. I've always known there was this real danger out there that was so normal, so unassuming, and it knew exactly where to hide. My rapist was like that. I knew him. I trusted him, and that made it even harder. For a long time, I convinced myself of his innocence, even after I found the strength to name what he did to me. He may have done it, I figured, but he didn't know what he was doing. I thought back to what I knew about toxic masculinity in our sex-obsessed culture. I analyzed it in a way that made it distant, theoretical. It wasn't personal. I couldn't blame him. And then he did it again. I learned some years later that I wasn't his first or his last. I thought, how could I have missed how dangerous this guy was? But the more I thought back about that night, the more I began to see his strategy, his deliberateness. He was attractive. He was attractive and friendly, seemingly generous and benign. He brought me beer after beer so I wouldn't have to get up. He encouraged me to flirt with some of the girls at the party. He called himself my wingman. And when it was clear I had lost control, he was the first person in the bathroom, holding back my hair and saying to my friends, "It's fine, I've got this. She just needs some space." It took me so long, so goddamn long, to realize that he had it all set up and nobody suspected anything because I was queer and he was my wingman. It can't be a lucky coincidence when it is happening for the third or fourth time. Afterwards, I threw up all day. There was blood on my leg, and I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't say it. I felt so dirty being tricked like that when all my life I'd been warned to watch out for myself. I made mistakes that night, but they're mistakes that everyone makes. Drinking too much, falling on the floor, loosening my inhibitions. I just wanted to live one night of my life without paranoia and fear. Coming to terms with what happened to me changed everything. The recovery took years, and it's still ongoing. To this day, there are nights where I wake up absolutely shaken, and it's because I've had another dream where I'm trying to escape from these grotesque monsters. They look like my friends, my family, like handsome young men walking down the street, innocent and blue-eyed with big smiles. I just never know which one it's going to be until he reaches out and grabs me.